Hello there, Atheist Jr. here, your friend and humble narrator. Now, it's no secret that creationist Kent Hovind is a total conspiracy theory nutjob. He believes all the big ones: chemtrails, 9/11 trutherism, he's an anti-vaxxer, he thinks there's no gold in Fort Knox. Yes, I'm serious. He thinks the Oklahoma City bombing was done by the government, and his big one is the whole New World Order thing. I'm going to take a second to focus on these last two before I talk about Kent's newest conspiracy hard-on, QAnon.
The militias were growing like crazy in America after what happened at Waco. And they had gun control legislation that was stalled in Congress. People were scared of their government, and rightfully so. And they're trying to get more gun control regulation passed. And so the federal government blew up Oklahoma City Mirror Building to blame it on the militia. Right after the bombing, for the next few hours, the cameramen are swarming all over the place, and they say, we can't go in the building yet. They just brought out bomb number 3.
So this crackpot theory that Kent subscribes to is that there was more than the one truck bomb planted by McVeigh. He claims that the government must have planted C4 inside the building. This idea is based on a second explosion allegedly being heard, as well as news anchors being hesitant to enter the building for fear of another bomb. However, experts dispute this, stating that the first tremor was a result of the bomb, while the second tremor was due to the collapse of the Murrah building. Also, it is just common sense for news reporters to keep their distance based on the chance of there being another explosive inside. As for the New World Order nonsense, Kent has promoted this for a long time. To quote the Southern Poverty Law Center, Hovind sells anti-Semitic books like Fourth Reich of the Rich, and has recommended the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a book blaming the world's problems on a Jewish conspiracy.
There's a book called The Protocols of Zion. Now, there's a lot of controversy about this, and Eric, just because I mentioned this, you're going to probably take some flack, because the Jews will get real upset about this. Apparently what happened, this is the Hovind theory, okay? Some of the rich guys in the world who want to control the world created a plan of how to gain control of the world. They wanted to blame it on the Jews. So they wrote the book and called it Protocols of Zion for Jews. Some of the leaders of the New World Order are Jewish, okay, but I don't think all of them are, to my knowledge. But the purpose was to write this book to tell everybody what's going to happen, and at the same time, protect yourself in case this book gets discovered by the wrong people. Here's a quote from the Protocols of Zion. The meaning of the history of the last century is that 300 Jewish financiers, all masters of lodges, rule the world. Interesting. He's claiming here that 300 Jewish financiers that are masters of lodges, Masonic lodge, stuff like that, are the ones who really rule the world.
So, if all of this wasn't bad enough, it appears that Kent Hovind has recently stumbled into the movement known as QAnon. Of course, Kent believed everything he read about the topic without a second thought. So, what is QAnon? Well, I'll fill you in if you're uninitiated.
Theatricality and deception. Powerful agents to the uninitiated. But we are initiated.
QAnon is a fascist biblical esoterics apocalypse cult that believes an anonymous government agent known only as Q is leaking sensitive, above top secret information to patriots, revealing that the political and cultural opponents of Donald J. Trump, the so-called deep state and Hollywood elite, are the minions of the cabal, literal Satan-worshipping pedophiles who kidnap, traffic, molest, and terrorize children in order to produce and harvest adrenochrome, a byproduct of the body processing adrenaline, which they use to get high during their ritual worship of their lord, who is, again, Satan, a constructed enemy so cartoonishly evil that it justifies discarding basically all human rights in order to turn opposition to Trump into a crime in a sweeping authoritarian purge of undesirables and political opponents called the Storm that will usher in a golden age of peace and prosperity, or the Great Awakening.
Wow, I just saw this documentary called Monsters, Inc. I can't believe politicians are actually harvesting children's screams.
When babies are screaming and crying, they produce an adrenaline. And the idea started centuries and centuries ago, probably thousands of years ago.
What, the idea that the world's most rich and powerful people are harvesting people's bodily fluids for their twisted religious rituals? Yeah, it's called blood libel. It's an ancient anti-Semitic conspiracy theory where people thought that the Jews would kill Christians and then use their blood for their religious rituals. It's funny how all the conspiracy theories you believe seem to be linked to anti-Semitism, Kent. On that note, let's remember where the QAnon movement started. From the 8chan image board, which was an offshoot of 4chan. And on the politics board of 4chan, the posters there are notoriously anti-Semitic. And that's basically where the alt-right movement started. And both 4chan and 8chan are notorious for people posting pornography of underage children there. So I'm sure that a movement from 8chan can be trusted to have the best interest of young children in mind. Definitely.
That if you can induce babies to scream and cry in pain and then harvest their blood or their adrenaline out of their system, they use it as a drug. It's really expensive, and the rich people use it as bargaining tools. I'll swap you my bottle of adrenochrome for your Rolls Royce. Did you know there are people in America, and have been for a long, Steve, how long has this been going on? The spirit cooking and the getting of the children's adrenaline?
I couldn't even tell you, but I know at least 10 years.
At least 10 years. Injecting adrenochrome from tortured kids. How many have ever heard of adrenochrome? Steve, you mentioned that. I'd never heard of it till today. I did a bunch of research on it. I can't believe it. They torture children to make them scream and cry, and while they're terrorized, they get their blood out because it's full of adrenaline. Yep. And then they put the drops of this stuff in their eye to get right into their system. Drug addicts do this kind of stuff. Politicians, adrenochrome. They're using adrenochrome as a form of currency. I guess it's one of the most powerful.
Yeah, it's extremely expensive.
Extremely expensive. Well, yeah, they're killing children to get it.
Yeah, and then if the kid gets, they say if the kid gets over like 12, they dispose of them.
Yeah, they use the kid up until they're 8 or 10 or 12, and then dispose of them. Some of them raised in the basement all the time, just constantly make them cry, torture them, scare the daylights out of them. That's it. This is happening in America. Let's see. Here's a bunch of people that have the black eye, a sign they've been taking adrenochrome. Yep. They all just ran into a wall. Yeah, okay, no problem. Let's see. Recognize anybody here? The Pope, George Bush. I don't know who Lady Gaga is, but
I told you about her.
The black-eyed club of the Antichrist from this adrenochrome. And they're proud of it. They're real proud of it for years. And I showed the picture, a couple of weeks ago, where almost always gives them a black eye. A whole bunch of them are real proud of that black eye.
In Hollywood, it's used as currency, and Mel Gibson said so probably 10, 12
Mel Gibson said Hollywood, it's used as what?
It's used as
currency. Yeah. Adrenochrome.
They say that it comes from child donors.
Child donors, yeah, right. They have, my understanding is, right, Steve, they have places underground where they keep children just to.
Yeah. They say there's been children down there for 4 generations, never seen the light of day. They're all deformed and stuff.
Deformed children for 4 generations, never seen the light of day. Torture them and get their adrenochrome.
No more, though. They got them.
Think they caught him? Yay.
The black eye, so they're injecting it into their eye, or
yes.
What?
That's what I understand. They put it in their eye. Eyedropper in their eye. Why? I don't know. But George Bush had one. I mean, I showed all the pictures. I got them. Let's see, somewhere. It would take me a while to go find. I got 20 million slides, but I showed it about 3 weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Adrenochrome. Go back to my previous ones. Yeah, it's just evil what's happening. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, the movie Monsters Inc. from Disney was based on that.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yes,
What? The movie Monster Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah, they harvested energy from the children's screams. That's why
Yeah,
they were scaring kids.
They harvested energy from the children's screams. Monsters Inc. Scare the kids. Wow. They're hiding it in plain sight.
Yeah, I wasn't joking about the Monsters Inc. thing. I mean, I'm not even sure what I should say here. I mean, I know my audience is educated and has enough common sense to know this isn't true, but like, Kent Hovind fans, I know you cucks lurk on this channel. Tell me in the comments, do you buy this crap? Do you think that it's true? Do you believe some things that Kent says, but you don't believe everything he says? I could at least respect that, but I mean, let me know in the comments at least. Now, I know we've had some fun laughing at Kent's silly beliefs in this video, but before I end the video, there is one thing that I have to say, because I wouldn't feel right if I didn't say this. Shame on you, Kent Hovind. Shame on you for disrespecting the victims who lost their lives in the Oklahoma City bombing. The 168 victims who died, 15 of whom were children. Some of them were 3 or 4 years old. One of them was 3 months old. Shame on you, Kent, you scumbag.
Each row corresponds to one floor of the building, and the chairs that are on that row really reflect the people that were working or were visiting that floor of the building when the bomb went off. In the day, you don't see these glass spaces as much, especially from a little bit of distance. You don't see them. And it seems like these float a little bit because that glass is not so apparent. But at night, it's almost the opposite comes true, where the glass spaces light up and they become really the beacons of hope that remind us that good can come out of something so evil.